where he can oust Hu Jintao and install Zheng as his successor. Thus, the man who started the hideous crackdown of 1999 and his bloodthirsty protege have solidified their control over the People's Republic again and will continue to do so with the blood of as many practitioners as they can find. But still there is cause for hope. As Zhang and Zheng strengthened their position from within, the party suffered blows to its prestige from without. In Taiwan, the people rejected the stick-and-carrot machinations of the communists and re-elected anti-communist President Chen Shui-bian. In Hong Kong, over 500,000 residents rejected threats and intimidation to demand control over their destiny and their city on July 1st. And in Europe, the communists' repeated efforts to lift the ban on arms sales fell on deaf ears. Now, these events may seem small, and to those suffering in communist jails, labor camps, and mental institutions, they may seem far away. But they are a reminder that the light of freedom has not been extinguished, and that the communists themselves know their brutal reign is neither permanent nor stable. The communists know their days are numbered, and they know the sooner America rises up to challenge them, the lower that number is. This is why the communists continue to aid and support terrorist regimes and groups, from Saddam Hussein to Syria, Iran to Al-Qaeda, from Stalinist North Korea to Sudan. Name a regime or group looking to strike against America or against freedom, and communist China is there, offering military supplies, weapons of mass destruction, components, or financial fronts to enable money laundering and other nefarious activities. Now, many may wonder why I bring up these subjects. I do for two critical reasons. One, the communists remember how American support for Eastern European dissidents helped bring down the Soviet Union in the First Cold War. They want to make sure we are in no position to do this again in the Second Cold War, the Cold War between the Chinese Communist Party and the United States. Secondly, and for me this is deeply personal, every act of resistance against the communist regime, every single act, no matter how small, weakens it and forces the regime to divert its energies. Personnel the communists use to arrest practitioners in Tiananmen Square cannot be used to train Libyan missile specialists or Iranian nuclear weapons builders. The bullet that pierced David Liang's legs cannot be used against Americans abroad by terrorists. Weapons pointed at practitioners in labor camps cannot be sold to terrorists to use against America. Now, I say these things not to imply that your sacrifice is less important than ours, quite the opposite in fact. But as someone who saw the smoke rise from the Pentagon through my office window, who felt the floor under my feet shake when the fuel tanks under Flight 77 exploded, and has seen the accounts of Communist China helping Osama bin Laden raise and launder money for more acts of terrorism, I know that your sacrifice has made me, my family, and my country that much safer. I know that your fight for freedom and your survival, you are fighting for our freedom and survival as well. I know that your fight is our fight. And I can never thank you enough for that. For that reason, I and the China E-Lobby will not rest until the American people, through their elected leaders, set in motion the policies that put the Communist Party regime that oppresses you and your fellow practitioners right beside the Soviet Union on the ash heap of history. My friends, the American people will see, and I would submit they have seen already, the evil that is the Chinese Communist Party. In time, they will rise up and demand that America, with the help of brave Chinese and other freedom lovers throughout the world, bring forth a China where David Liang and his fellow practitioners can be free, while Jiang Zemin and his minions rot in jail. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless the American and Chinese peoples.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you all for coming to support us at our rally today. My name is Jin. I'm 70 years old from Toronto, Canada. And this is Kevin. He's also 17 from Toronto, Canada as well. We're youth from Toronto, Montreal, Pittsburgh, and Boston. We have ridden our bikes from Toronto to Washington, D.C., covering 700 miles. From the shore of Lake Ontario to the Empire State, up the hills of Pennsylvania, down through Maryland. And here we are standing in front of you on Capitol Hill. We offered 3 weeks of our summer vacation to bring to the public's attention regarding the persecution of innocent Falun Gong practitioners in China. What touched us even more and motivated us to do this bike ride was that when we read that over 40 million children in China are directly affected by this persecution. Whether it is losing a family member, denying education, being orphaned because their own parents are detained or killed by prison guards for their belief, or even subjected to being murdered themselves. Little kids such as 4-year-old Yuan Yuan suffered without cause. Yuan Yuan Zhang's father, Hong Xu, and her mother, Yong Mei Wu, are both Falun Gong practitioners. Yuan Yuan was born on July 16, 1999. 4 days after her birth, the brutal persecution of Falun Gong began. In December 2003, little Yuan Yuan's mother was arrested. In the detention center, she went on a hunger strike for 54 days to protest her illegal detention, and was finally released when she was on the brink of death. On New Year's Day 2004, 4 policemen came and forcefully took Yuan Yuan away. Until today, there's still no information on her whereabouts. There are countless such heartbreaking stories, and they're the motive behind our determination in launching this prestigious project and triggered our sense of justice.
We are very fortunate to live in a democratic society where our rights and freedoms are ensured. We have the right to speak and the right to believe. But we cannot say the same for our counterparts in China, who haven't seemed to learn the lessons taught to us by history. For this is not unlike what happened to what the Nazis did to the Jews during World War II. We are not against China or the Chinese government. We are only pointing out the illegal human rights violations inflicted by the former head of state of the Chinese Communist Party, Jiang Zemin. We as North American teenagers wish to offer our hearts to those in China who suffer without reason. When they cry out in pain, we wish to be the ones to answer their call and give them a voice. We especially wish to share with the world Falun Gong's peace and passivity in the face of repression and adversity. We want to tell the world about truth, compassion, and tolerance, touching on every person possible to raise awareness about the brutal persecution of 14 million children and their families. The persecution of Falun Gong must stop. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Congresswoman Ross Lehtinen from the great state of Florida. The Falun Gong and human rights in general around the world have no greater friend, no greater fighter, no greater supporter than Congresswoman Lehtinen. She has been absolutely magnificent as the chairperson of the Subcommittee on International Organizations and Human Rights. She knows firsthand what repression is, having fled Cuba some years ago. And most recently, she initiated House Resolution 188, which condemns the Chinese government's persecution of the Falun Gong's practitioners and harassment of U.S. officials here in the United States. She is a great champion for us. She comes each year, and I'm delighted once again to introduce her to you.
Well, thank you very much. I'm indeed honored to be with you today on this great occasion, surrounded by so many friends and people who truly understand the meaning of liberty and freedom of expression. Congratulations to each and every one of you for being here today. Our journey has been a difficult one, but you have clearly demonstrated your resilience and your inner strength throughout. An inner strength that stems from your beliefs and your strong convictions. And with the goal of bringing justice to thousands of men and women who have been persecuted by the cowardly communist regime, I have sponsored and introduced several bills right here behind me in the U.S. House of Representatives that addresses the systematic crackdown against Falun Gong practitioners in Beijing. And we are here today to continue our fight against the brutal persecution, prosecution, torture, and murder of Falun Gong practitioners across the world. I honor you for your commitment